So I know it's been 5 years and this PowerPoint is probably a waste of time, but I just want to share my thoughts with you because it's been bothering me. Every time I see a Lewis Hamilton fan post saying, "Oh, he was robbed in 2021," it just makes me laugh out loud because Lewis was in fact not robbed in 2021, and in fact, he was a lot more lucky than Verstappen that season. If if everything had gone like how it should have, like no failures or anything, Verstappen would have won the championship way before Abu Dhabi. It's not even close. But other than that aside, I've decided to make this little PowerPoint here just to show you that Lewis was in fact not robbed in 2021 and Max was the rightful winner. Am I saying what happened in Abu Dhabi was entirely right? No. But if we're going to the if the safety car didn't come out, we can also go into a if Max is tired didn't fail in Baku, or if Bottas didn't go bowling in Hungary. So see how that argument just doesn't work. But we will get into the whole Abu Dhabi shenanigan in a bit. So for starters, let's look at the overall season statistics. As you can see, Verstappen had overly better statistics than Lewis. See here in the right picture, Max led over half the laps, had double Lewis's pole positions, had one more win before Abu Dhabi, and was on the podium one more time than Lewis. As for the car performance, we can all agree that the Red Bull was faster in some tracks, the Mercedes was faster in some tracks, but over the whole season, this analysis here shows that Mercedes was 0.058% per lap faster. Now, yes, that is not a lot, so we can safely assume that they were about the same car. So all the people that say that Red Bull had the fastest car, yes, they had the fastest car on some tracks, but over the season, Mercedes here shows that, yep, it was small, but technically Mercedes were the faster car. But we'll just, you can reasonably assume that they were equal on pace. So as for the mistakes over the season, Max had a way better season than Lewis. I think I'm going to show you why. But just to go over Max's mistakes. Now, obviously, mistakes is not going to be like, aggressive driving because, yes, I will agree that Max was overly aggressive sometimes in the season, but I can't really call that a driver mistake or, just a skill issue in a way. Do I agree that some of them were over the rules? Yes, and he should have got penalized, and he did get penalized for some of them. But some were just like a bit, I think they were bad, but they weren't worthy of the penalty that they received. So the only proper mistakes I can say Verstappen did over the season is the brake check in Jeddah, which you can see here on the right photo here. Like, if you know your rival's gonna give you the position, why in the hell would you be? Look at that. Lewis is like 3 meters, 4 meters away from him. Like, he's just basically asking, look, he's right behind him. Like, why would you be that close if he knew Max is gonna slow down and give him the position? Like, it makes no sense. And this is analysis, I put the link here. You can see that the guy, now obviously, I don't know if he was biased or not, but the analysis, I read it seems pretty nice. It says here both drivers playing games, because he says here Lewis had no reason to be here. And it's right, Lewis could have easily been, to the left-hand side of the track and not look right behind Max. Like, if Max slows down, yes, they will crash, obviously, but look how close Lewis is to him. So I can't say that was 100% Max's fault. Also, the crash in Monza, but then again, that was deemed a racing incident because Lewis did leave him no space on the outside, even though Max was alongside Lewis. Okay, maybe a bit behind, but then you can't just pretend that your guy isn't there. Yes, I know Max is famous for doing that, but Max at least gets penalized for it, And people say that Max is at fault, but for this incident, people are still blaming Verstappen. But in my opinion, it's just a racing incident. I don't blame Max or Lewis. So the only proper driving error I can say Max did was the qualifying crash in Jeddah when he was on a pole position lap. And even then, he started third. So even then, it didn't have that big of an impact. But now, let's look at some of Lewis's mistakes over the season. So, for starters, this incident at Imola, I still don't know why he did that. As many of you probably know, is wet in 2021 Imola. So that meant, a lot less grip, a lot less chance of going around the outside. But Lewis, starting from pole position, had a pretty bad start, and Max from third on the grid was already like slightly ahead of him. Now this isn't like right at the apex, it's a bit after the apex, just to show you that Lewis did in fact have like no way of hanging around the outside. So yeah, I don't know why he did that. He could have easily, like Max was ahead of him slightly at the braking zone, and in the wet with the sausage, look at the sausage curbs on the apex over there. Yeah, I don't know what Lewis was thinking. Okay. Now mistake number two, the lap 31 Imola incident where Lewis at the end of sector 1 crashed and went, well, he didn't crash, he beached the car, and he did get a bit of front wing damage from hitting the barriers. Now he exited the gravel trap in P7 and about a minute behind Verstappen. So safe to say, had the race carried on there, he probably would not have finished on the podium or even top 4, top 5, and that would have been pretty bad for the championship. But about 10 seconds after he exited the gravel trap, Bottas and Russell had their little ding dong on the main straight, and that caused the red flag. So Lewis had a massive opportunity, to fix the front wing, to fix the car, and because he had a way faster car than the guys ahead, he easily got back to P2. So yeah, like I said, had the red flag not happened, he would have probably not finished on the podium. Number 3 is the whole Monaco weekend. I can't say this is a proper driving mistake, but he was definitely slower than he should have been in that car. He qualified 7/10 off pole position and half a second, 4.9 tenths, but we'll just say half a second behind his teammate Valtteri Bottas. And in the race, even though Charles and Bottas retired, which should have promoted him to 5th, he got undercut by Gasly and Vettel. And he finished 7th and only 7 seconds away from being lapped. So I can't say this was a proper driving mistake, but I don't know why he was that slow. Sorry, I just drank a bit of water there. Yeah, I don't know why Lewis was that slow, and this should have definitely, he should have finished at least 4th, 3rd, maybe 2nd if Bottas retired, and then Charles didn't start the race, obviously. Mistake number 4, I think we all know this one, the Baku lockup. In that same race, Max had a tire failure while leading with 5 laps to go, so that would have been a win from him. Lewis was 2nd at the restart, and then he took the lead before turn 1, but then he just forgot that the corner was there. Apparently, he hit the wrong switch on his steering wheel, which caused the brake bias to go to the back of the car, and that's why he didn't have any grip for the brakes in the front. So yeah, this was definitely a missed opportunity for Mr. Lewis Hamilton here. And had he not locked up, the DRS would not have been enabled until the 3rd lap, and there were only 2 laps left, so he would have probably won this race, obviously because he also had the best car compared to Perez. Now, France is a bit of an outlier because, yes, obviously this wasn't Lewis's fault, but I can say this was a missed opportunity for Mercedes because Mercedes did use this 2-stop strategy to beat Max in Spain. And Bottas in France said on the radio to his engineer that this will be a 2-stop race, but they completely ignored him. Red Bull used the 2-stop strategy and they managed to overtake Lewis with 2 laps to go. So this was definitely a missed opportunity for Mercedes. Austria, he was running in 2nd on lap 48. He was running in 2nd on lap 48 and then just clattered over the curves at turn 1, which caused him a bit of damage. He was instructed to let Valtteri Bottas by and then also got overtaken by Lando Norris, costing him a P2, so he dropped to 4th. So that's 6 points lost for Hamilton here. Now, Silverstone, I think you all knew this was going to be here. The penalty, I don't know if it's lenient or not. I mean, 10-second penalty in theory for a collision is okay, but when you see at the magnitude of that collision, I don't know, I'm a bit meh. I mean, yeah, we'll say the penalty was somewhat fair, but then when you look at when he overtook on the bottom photo here, when he overtook Charles Leclerc on lap 50, you can see he hooked the apex very nicely indeed there. He hooked the apex. I wonder, when you look at the top photo, you can see he is way off the inside line here. I wonder why he couldn't hook the apex like that with Max. Maybe because, it says here in the bottom that he was 32 points behind him. So yeah, I think Lewis had a bit of a idea come to him in Silverstone there. Number 8, the whole Hungary weekend. Well, he did get pole position, so qualifying was pretty good to him. But then in the race, Bottas, just did a couple bowling shits there. He took out, 5 cars, including both Red Bulls. So Lewis basically was given a free opportunity to get the win there. But then, yes, technically it's Mercedes that pit him, but, he could have just said, that didn't pit him, but, Lewis could have just said, guys, this is the wrong idea, I want to pit. So I think he should have known that he said on his, on the lap before the restart, it's bone dry. So, he should have, told the team, hey, guys, this is not going to work, I want to pit. And also, of course, he got defended by Fernando Alonso in a way slower car on older tires. And even after the race, Lewis finished 3rd on the road, but Vettel got disqualified for fuel irregularities. So that gave him basically 2nd place. So 3 points it gave him. Number 8, this again wasn't really a mistake, but in Spa, do you really, he's supposedly the best driver in the wet, but he got out-qualified by George Russell in the 2nd slowest, sometimes even slowest car on the grid. So I don't know. He should have definitely been ahead of Russell. Yeah, Max had a pretty good lap there, so I don't think he was gonna beat Max. But come on, he should have been. Yes, I know the margin's 13 thousandths of a second between Russell and Hamilton. But come on, behind George Russell, really? So yeah, he cost a P2 there. Now, if the race went ahead, Hamilton would have probably finished ahead of George. But, it's just an interesting thought that the supposed best driver in the wet gets out-qualified by George Russell. Number 9, lap 1 in Abu Dhabi. Now, the next slide is going to go over, the whole shenanigan that happened later in the race. But at lap 1 here, the top photo shows Max diving down the inside. And Lewis, had to cut the chicane and overtake Max. And he wasn't given a penalty for this, but you can see here Max was ahead at the apex. Now, the bottom photo shows Saudi Arabia. Max was again ahead at the apex. Max overtook Lewis off the track. And Max was given a 5-second time penalty. Lewis overtook Max as well off the track and was given no penalty. That's very interesting, isn't it? And now the last slide, lap 58. You can see here, this was right before Max dived down the inside, just zero defense. He left the inside line wide open, not a single ounce of defense. On the championship lap, basically, this lap would have decided the championship. Yes, he had old tires, but I don't think the tires were that old where he couldn't move left to cover the inside for Max Verstappen, So yeah, that was the whole slide, but I just want to tell you that when you see a Lewis fan post saying that he was robbed, you just have to wonder, was he actually robbed? I mean, when you look at lap 1, he overtook Max off the track, and then you look at lap 58 where he offered basically zero defense, you can't help but wonder, maybe he did actually have maybe with the old tires he wouldn't have defended against Max, but he could have at least tried to. That's not really a champion spirit there. And also, for the safety car, Mercedes did see that Verstappen pit. So why didn't they also pit to cover him off? I've always wondered that. But anyway, I hope this video gave you a bit of insight into the season on why I believe Max was in fact the rightful winner of 2021. And why all the Hamilton fans still moaning about 2021 are just a bunch of degenerate losers that only look at Abu Dhabi and don't look over the whole season. So, yeah, thank you for listening. And also, I'm just going to show you 2 extras that weren't really mistakes, but it's interesting that Lewis didn't get penalized. So in the first one, in the qualifying lap, Hamilton completely blocked Mazepin's lap. Now, yes, I know it's Mazepin, but, still, he shouldn't have blocked. He received not even an investigation. He didn't receive a penalty for this. And Gunther Steiner said if Mazepin blocked Hamilton, they would have gotten a penalty. Then the same thing happened in Abu Dhabi. Hamilton blocked Mazepin's lap. So, yeah, again, not investigated. So, yeah.